This is a story about an orphaned lazy guy named Ikta Solork, who is known as a defeatist and doesn't get involved in unnecessary things. Along with his childhood friend named Yatori, who is a proud warrior, they board a ship and set sail towards the military training school. On board the ship, they befriend Hiroma, Matthew, and Torway. While they were introducing each other, Ikta starts flirting with Hiroma and touching her all over. However, Yatori stops him and warns Hiroma to watch out or else he will start fondling her melons. These 5 individuals are roommates for the duration of their travel. However, this didn't last long as their ship seemed to be quite shaky and violently rocked back and forth. The lights went out and water started to seep into their room. Understanding that the boat was going to sink, Yatori ordered everyone to head to the dock, where they were all sent away on lifeboats. Escaping onto the lifeboat, a blonde young girl accidentally slips and falls into the ocean. Upon seeing this, Ikta wastes no time and jumps right in to rescue her. After that, they find refuge on an island. It is revealed that the girl is Chamil Kitra Kotvarnmananik, the 3rd princess of the imperial family. Furthermore, the island they are currently on is located within the territory of the Kyoka Republic, against which the Empire is currently engaged in warfare. Analyzing the situation, Ikta claims that they have only 2 options, either to surrender and become prisoners of war or to fight through the border and return to their kingdom. However, Chamil announces that being captured here is not an option for her. She claims that she has to return to the Empire and achieve her objectives no matter what, and offers Ikta and the others any reward they want in exchange for this. But Ikta becomes enraged after hearing this, stating that they are helpless in this situation and no amount of riches can get them out of it. He even goes as far as to physically threaten the princess, but Yatori intervenes, using force to calm Ikta down. Ikta decides to head out to chill and relax his mind. At night, while the group is preparing for their short stay here, Ikta sees a balloon in the sky known as a blimp, an air unit. While everyone sleeps, Chamil suddenly gets a call from nature and heads out to relieve herself. However, she encounters Kyoka soldiers and hides. On the other hand, Yatori has laid traps in case someone is snooping in the forest, and they suddenly hear a bell. Moreover, they notice the princess isn't there and they all head out immediately. Meanwhile, Chamil is about to give herself up to the soldiers, fearing death if she is found, but Ikta suddenly arrives and intervenes. He appears in front of the soldiers and makes up a fake story about how he escaped from the kingdom and wants to seek asylum in the Kyoka Republic. The soldiers believe him and express that all asylum seekers are allowed entry. With this, Ikta manages to lower their guard. This allows Yatori and Torway to kill all the enemies, except for one. After capturing the injured soldier, they begin to interrogate him and retrieve vital information about the enemy base and the location of their blimp. And so, the group decides to use this blimp to make their escape. Ikta, using his out-of-the-box thinking and quick wits, crafts a plan. He wants to use this blimp, which is an expensive military weapon, and make empty threats to destroy it. Therefore, he disguises himself as a Kyoka soldier and claims that he was out patrolling when he captured these asylum seekers, his teammates. However, one of them stole the blimp in the midst of the fight and is now demanding the release of his family in exchange for returning the airship. And his plan works. The commander agrees to this deal, and the group returns with no casualties. After a month passes since their return, the 5 are granted an audience with the king, who rewards them all with the title of Imperial Knights, the highest honor for a soldier. However, this infuriates Ikta, who is seen to be enraged after being granted this title. As a result, he questions Chamil's actions and asks what he is planning to do with him as they head to the party held in their honor. And so, now that they have become soldiers and nobles, the 5 are forced to attend the Kotvarna Empire High-Level Officer School. Even Chamil decides to enroll in the school, but Ikta is extremely lazy from day one, slacking off every day and even sleeping in class. However, this does not affect him at all. It is revealed that Ikta is an ingenious strategist, and he uses his high intellect to answer all the questions thrown at him. On the other hand, Torway and Matthew bump into someone. That someone happens to be Torway's elder brother himself, Sarihasrag, who starts to ridicule and mock his little brother. However, hearing these words makes Torway angry and he tries to stand up. Even Ikta, who was slacking off by sleeping on top of a tree, decides to help out and chimes in. Unfortunately, this only results in him getting lynched and beaten. Despite this, he is rescued when Yatori arrives, along with Chamil, and deals with the ruffians with ease using her physical prowess. 3 months pass and eventually platoons are formed. The 5 are given their own platoon, however, there is a problem. Within Ikta's group is Suya, the daughter of a woman with whom he used to sleep. Learning this, everyone refuses to listen to his commands. Meanwhile, Sarihasrag wants to take revenge on Ikta for humiliating him in front of the third princess. Using the upcoming mock battles, he uses his authority to pit himself against Ikta and Torway. But Ikta, upon hearing this, vows to defeat him. Using Ikta's ingenious strategy, his and Torway's forces change positions and approach the enemy from behind, where a river stands between them. In addition, he uses a decoy force and sends it separately, which allows Yatori, who is currently his enemy, to exist on the battlefield and allows Ikta to gain the upper hand in combat. With the help of an underwater bridge his team created last night, the troops attack their foes, who have currently outnumbered thanks to Yatori and her group being away. As such, they are forced to retreat. Sarihasrag feels ashamed and tries to blame this failure on Yatori, who retorts back. In addition, he thinks that Ikta will continue to attack, seeing that they currently have the upper hand. Therefore, he positions his troops to set up a pincher attack, awaiting their enemy to enter their trap. However, Ikta has something else planned. He lures Sarihasrag out to an open field, where Torway snipes him from behind. This causes a disruption in the chain of command, and Ikta acquires his first victory. Everyone, including Suya, is impressed and surprised that this slothful guy is actually a tactical mastermind. On the other hand, Chamiel is informed that Ikta has been injured, but this is all just a ploy by her guard squad's captain, Isenho, who wants to kidnap her. Nonetheless, Ikta immediately signaled Yatori about this, who along with her troops, headed over to save her. Ikta and Torway also provided support while Yatori went on a rampage and kills numerous highly trained royal guards with ease. After the ordeal, Yatori is seen training and honing her skills. Suddenly, she recalls a distant memory from the past. She remembers the time when she was invited by General Bada Sankre, who is revealed to be Ikta's father, to come and study abroad. Of course, the young Yatori even then aspired to become an elite soldier, and as such, she agreed. That is where she first met Ikta. Throughout the duration of her stay, they both slowly get closer and begin to bond. Together, they participate in many missions assigned to them by Ikta's father, such as playing pranks on senior officers and stealing produce from the kitchen. One day, while accompanying two researchers on a trip, they are left alone for the night in a log cabin on top of a mountain. The researchers have apparently forgotten their equipment and have headed back to retrieve it. However, that night, a pack of wolves attacks the children. The fearless Yatori uses her amazing physical prowess to defend the duo, while Ikta comes up with strategies to overcome their foes. Eventually, they manage to trap the wolves inside the cabin and burn them to the ground. Despite this, the wolf leader survives, but the children's tag team force the opponent to flee. Soon after this event, General Bada was imprisoned, and Yuka, Ikta's mother, also disappeared. As time passes by, Ikta learns that Anzaryu, his master, has a box filled with knowledge that is about to be opened by the Kyoka, and he claims that this will change the battlefield. Moreover, the students are being sent on a 6-month campaign to the northern mountains. Once they arrive, they are greeted by the commander of the northern garrison and a party is held for them. There, Yatori is invited to a duel by the best swordsman of the northern garrison, Dankun. However, he is no match for the daughter of the Iksum family, who overpowers him. Soon after their arrival, the group is handed over to their instructors and they begin their routines. Ikta and his friends are under First Lieutenant Senpa, and they all begin to patrol the fort's surroundings, fearing an attack from the surrounding villagers known as the Sinex. But Ikta blows off the patrol, using this chance to instead chat up a girl named Kana. Nonetheless, when Senpa learns of his disappearance, he drags Ikta to a confinement cell as punishment. But there, he happens upon something that completely shocks him. After 3 days, Ikta is finally released from his confinement, but not long after, the troops are sent out on a supply mission. Along with them is Major Toak, who is pursuing good connections with the people here. Once they reach their destination, Ikta locates and approaches Kana, and they both explore the city together. Ikta reveals what he saw that day, a bunch of spirits which have been imprisoned after being taken away from the Sinek people. The Sinex reside in the Empire, but they aren't considered the people of the Empire. As such, the military has small skirmishes with them. In addition, General Safida was the one who planned to break the Sinex fighting using this devastating tactic. Back in the present, Ikta and Kana are enjoying their time when they suddenly hear gunshots. Meanwhile, Yatori, who is accompanying Toak to a meeting, also hears the gunshots and rushes to see what's happening, only to find that Toak and the others have been killed by Sinex. The attackers, having fulfilled their objective, flee. However, Yatori pursues them and follows them right into an ambush. There, she asks the leader of the Sinek, Nanakudaru, why they attacked her commanders, learning that the Empire was the one who started this. As such, Nanaku declares war on the evildoers of the Empire. Ikta, upon hearing this news, figures out that someone has been provoking the Sinek from the shadows. Regardless, the warfare begins the next day. However, the military is seen as having a lot of trouble fighting in these unfamiliar conditions. As a result, recruits are sent to the front line under the guise of using them as suppliers. However, in the middle of the night, while the soldiers are resting, the Sinek launch a sneak attack. Ikta claims that he and his battalion will protect the rear and join in if needed, so he escapes the front line and prepares for when the enemy ultimately breaks through. Just as Ikta planned, when the opponents approach, they use blinding lights to disorientate the attackers and rush in. As a result, they manage to hold their positions without any casualties. Meanwhile, the northern garrison, among which Kana is also present, is stranded and surrounded by a fort, with only a limited supply of rations and personnel. The workload on all individuals is very heavy. In addition to all this, all the soldiers keep dropping like flies without any external injuries. This is caused by the sudden shift in their altitude, to which their bodies are still yet to become accustomed. However, Kana is revealed to have a strong body as she continues to push forward and doesn't stop to rest, despite obviously being extremely fatigued. As Ikta's platoon makes its way to them, they find that the nearby camp has been overtaken by the Sinek. Regardless, Ikta plans to take back the fort and crafts up a plan. Torway uses his accurate sniping to defeat the station's scouts, enabling the rest of his comrades to perform a direct assault and quickly overtake the fort. Soon after, a soldier from the front line arrives at the fort, requesting backup. Consequently, with little to no rest, troops are deployed immediately, but when they reach the front line, the battle is already over. Their allies are already dead. While Ikta explores, he also sees Kana's lifeless body on the floor. Nonetheless, the troops continue to the main front line where Senpa is surprised upon seeing his students. There, he explains the current situation of the battle and assigns some jobs to Ikta's troops, ordering them to burn down the Sinek villages surrounding their camp. Although hesitant and disgusted, they have no choice but to accept and obey the command. While Ikta deals with the logistics of transporting all these Sinek people to the military-assigned lodging, he gets called names and gets stones hurled at him. Moreover, a child even decides to physically assault him, but Ikta simply flicks him on the nose, resulting in the child beginning to bleed. Seeing this, the Sinek become enraged, but Deniku comes to salvage the situation. Firstly, he condemns and hits Ikta for hurting a child, and then punches himself as well, claiming that the child and he are now even. This helps to calm down the situation. Nonetheless, Suya cannot accept Ikta getting punched for following his orders despite it not being his fault. But Ikta tells her not to pay any mind to such things. In addition, General Safida has announced that the final battle is soon to arrive. According to him, the remaining Sinek forces have gathered on a plain not too far away and the troops are beginning their journey towards them. Furthermore, the final battle is set for the next day, and as a result, he orders the troops to rest up for the approaching battle. That night, after the soldiers are dismissed, Ikta and his group gather together in the mess room and eat dinner while chatting. All of a sudden, when the topic of all the recent deaths arises, Haroma and Yatori excuse themselves, leaving the men alone. Left alone, Matthew has something to ask of his closest comrades. Embarrassed, he asks how Ikta deals with his manly desires during the war. To this question, Ikta gives a proper response stating that there are two kinds of people. Firstly, the heroes who rely on the bonds they have with others, and secondly, the warriors who live alone in solitude. Moreover, as per the rules and regulations of the army, Ikta explains that being a hero isn't allowed while a person is deployed at war. Torway is revealed to be a warrior, and Ikta keeps quiet about his category, quoting the army regulation once again. Suddenly, Senpa intervenes in their chat, telling them to keep their voices low when discussing such things. Matthew tries to escape the situation, but Ikta stops him and corners him to answer what category he fits into. With no choice, Matthew turns around and yells out, "Pay your respects to the lonely warrior," and walks out, while the rest of the soldiers salute his words. The very next day, the battalion departs on their journey to the plains where the Sineks are gathering, as per the general's orders. However, while they are crossing a narrow gorge to reach their destination, the Sineks decide to use this chance. They execute a sneak attack, and Nanaku tries to attack Safida. But Yatori stands in her way, who even the Sinek chieftain isn't able to defeat. Suddenly, during the battle, an unknown group arrives and kills Deniku in action. The commotion caused by the attack enables Nanaku to escape from her situation. After fleeing, she heads to her village but finds that it has been set ablaze. Even her family members have been murdered. Enraged, she tries to take revenge on the ones responsible but fails due to her injuries. On the other hand, the remaining army also shows up at the village and witnesses the burning houses. Ikta and Yatori immediately rush to help any survivors where they happen upon Nanaku, who is about to be taken advantage of. However, Ikta manages to prevent this from happening. Nonetheless, the remaining Sinek fighters are killed and the villagers were taken into custody. As a result, the war is now over. However, Ikta figured out the identity of the group that appeared in the last battle to be Kala Karm, a ghost unit of the Kyoka nation. Suddenly, messengers from the Holy Army of Aldera appeared. They knew about the spirit abuse that Safida was involved in and wanted to use this reason to invade the empire. Consequently, with no other choice, Ikta had to join hands with the Sineks. In addition to all this, it was revealed that Nanaku and Ikta used to be childhood friends. When Ikta's father, General Bada, was deployed to the mountains, Ikta and his mother accompanied him. During this time, Ikta befriended Nanaku. Now, in order to apologize for their wrongdoing, he sacrificed his pinky finger, which makes Nanaku more comfortable with working together, and as a result, he is able to add a few hundred more men to his troops. This was a huge boost in numbers, as he only had 600 men before this interaction. As such, to fend off the army of 12,000 with only 800 troops of their own, Ikta plans to burn down the entire forest and slow the enemy's progress. However, on the opponent's side is also a genius strategist named Jin. As per Jin's orders, the Holy Army also starts a fire, trying to subdue the fire caused by their enemies by cutting off its fuel and using it to open a path. Their plan works as they manage to find a route towards the foe. However, this alternate route will take more time, which they did not take into consideration. This extra time allows Ikta, along with Yatori and Nanaku's help, is able to create some sort of fortification from wood in order to prepare for the approaching battle. And so, the enemy soon arrives. This marks the beginning of this bloody battle, and the intense fight begins immediately. Ikta plans to use frontline fighters like Yatori's platoon, Nanaku, and the other Sineks to engage in close-quarter combat and subdue the opponent. Meanwhile, Torway and Matthew's groups provide support using guns and air rifles. They manage to subdue the first wave of enemies, however, their foes are also revealed to be in possession of air rifles, leaving the frontline fighters, mostly consisting of the Sineks, in extreme danger. The soldiers plan to leave the Sineks behind and save their own skin, but Ikta orders his soldiers to charge in and save their allies, thanks to which many of the Sineks are rescued. Despite fending off the opponent for now, the casualties on the Empire's side are too high due to the emergency attack to rescue the front lines. Suya, having lost 2 of her friends, is upset with Ikta and condemning his decision to save the Sineks over saving the comrades he has spent so much time with. However, Yatori steps in and claims that Ikta made this decision for her sake, who wouldn't have allowed her allies to die an unjust death after they were asked to fight alongside the Empire's men. Yatori's explanation calms Suya down. With the crisis averted for the time being, the troops take their well-deserved rest. The next morning, the Kala Karm learn of the Holy Army's delay and decide to head out. On the other hand, Ikta learns that 500 men from the 10,000 troop battalion of the Holy Army have been sent to attack the Western Front, separate from the main army. As such, Senpa, thinking that he is the best fit for this, assigns the job to himself and takes a small number of troops to fight against the incoming attackers. He adds that his skills and tactics will prove to be useless on this battlefield and leaves Ikta as the commander of this base. Ikta, on the other hand, announces to the troops that they have to buy 7 more days and tells them their plan of action, to restore the wall of fire and dispel any scouts that come through. Just like that, 3 days pass. Back at the Western Front, the Kala Karm plan to aid the Holy Army and attack the Empire's troops from behind. However, as they prepared to start their assault, Torway had already set up an ambush for them and killed them all. Ikta also learned of this but had his own problems to deal with. On the 6th day of the 7 that the Empire needed to stall for, Jin decided to call out the cannons, and the Holy Army began its advance. They used explosive shells to create havoc among the opponent's ranks and advanced forward after overcoming the wall of fire, causing the Empire to retreat. Learning about the Holy Army's progress, Ikta leaves Matthew in charge of the base and tells him to defend it for 2 more days. He then leaves, along with Yatori, Nanaku, and a handful of soldiers. Despite the circumstances, Ikta still has a plan and sets up a defense on a gorge with straw mats on the ground, soaked with oil. As the Holy Army approaches, they notice the barricade. Jin orders the soldiers to aim and prepare to shoot. However, the Empire's soldiers emerge from beneath the straw mats and start attacking the foe. With the battlefield in disarray, Ikta signals to his men that they are willing to negotiate, and Jin has no choice but to participate. However, once faced with Jin, Ikta bluffs and claims that there is a sniper directly aiming at Jin. Understanding this to be a bluff but unable to ignore theirs, Jean agrees to retreat for now, allowing Ikta 2 days so that his troops can safely retreat. And so, the northern garrison returns back. Once they reach their base, Chamul immediately pounces on Ikta, expressing how worried she was. Moreover, she congratulates the soldier for surviving and vows to reward them all for their valiant effort. 1 month later, General Safida is sentenced to death due to his evil deeds. Later that night, Chamul calls out to Ikta and tells him to save the empire. She wants him to rise through the military ranks and change this rotten country from within. Hearing this, although Ikta is perplexed, he decides to join hands with the princess to achieve this goal for the betterment of the people. Hope you enjoyed the anime recap. Let us know what you thought. I'm out.